All right, guys, welcome to this interview with Sterling from Big Poppa Smokers. Welcome, Sterling.
Hi, how are you guys?
Doing great.
Doing good, man. So a lot of people know Big Poppa Smokers because right now you guys, have been for some time, but this year, in the short amount of time that we've been competing, have been completely dominant. But you didn't start in barbecue. You actually own Ernie Ball, which is does a whole bunch of different musical instruments, strings and stuff like that, like Music Man and all that stuff. Talk about like your Ernie Ball for just a second, where you got your start in your business.
Well, Ernie Ball is a family business. My dad was Ernie Ball, rest in peace. But my dad was a serial entrepreneur, and he was a studio guitarist. And when rock and roll came, you needed lighter strings that were easier to bend, okay? And so my dad went to Leo Fender and said, Leo, you need to sell these guitars with these strings on it. And he said, no, bad idea. And he went to Gibson, and bad idea. So finally Leo said, Ernie, if you think it's a great idea, I'll sell them to you. So we became the first rock and roll string. And so what's interesting is that if you look at it, and if you go to ernieball.com and look at our artist page, we have the most incredible array of artists, from the remaining Beatles to John Mayer to, Metallica, you name it. But we created the category in the music business, and we created the concept of merchandising guitar strings, which are the profit center of every music store in the world now. So I think every quarter of a second somebody buys one of our strings. Might be even more. That's the last time I did it. So, and then Music Man was a company Leo Fender started after he sold Fender, and I worked with Leo as one of his beta testers, and because I wasn't afraid to tell him the truth. People would be with Leo Fender and be afraid to, it's Leo. What are you going to do? Well, to me, it's like Uncle Leo. It wasn't. Mm-hmm. Leo Fender was a genius who changed the world, but he was also I grew up. My earliest memories are shuffling through the Fender factory. So Leo used me because I'd tell the truth. And also, I was very connected with a lot of the artists. I got Eric Clapton right out of the gate playing the amps, and a whole bunch of people. So over the years, I ended up buying Music Man, and I've designed guitars for Keith Richards of the Stones, Eddie Van Halen, Metallica, McCartney, Petrucci of Dream Theater, St. Vincent, James Valentine of Maroon 5. Kind of a nice roster.
Right. I'm going through it right now, and I'm looking at this and going, and it's a who's who of you name it. Yeah, name a band right now. Everyone out there listening, name a band. They're on this list.
Yeah, probably Rage too.
It's funny in the music business. I don't get any haters, so I'm in barbecue just so I know what it feels like.
Speaking of barbecue,
so awesome.
You come from making these amazing strings, and all of a sudden,
and guitars,
yeah. And all that stuff, and then all of a sudden, barbecue comes into the world. How did that come about?
Well, I bought my son a Traeger 11 years ago. And I bought one for myself, too, so I wanted to learn how, because I wanted to be able to teach him. I've been a cook forever, okay? Listen, there's a couple words in barbecue get thrown around way too much, and one of them is chef. When somebody gives a barbecue guy, they go from pitmaster to chef. There are chefs in barbecue. Blaine Hunter's a chef. Tuffy Stone's a chef. Ronnie Killen's a brilliant chef. I'm a cook. Okay, and maybe a creative cook. But what I realized is that men generally, even though women are a significant part of barbecue, men think they're great barbecues, and generally they suck. Okay? I'll give you a thing. The average guy is very virile and talks about what a study is, but I can't watch a sporting event without every other commercial being for Roman or Viagra or Levitra, okay, something like that. So obviously the reality is in the advertisement. And the reality with barbecue is the guys just aren't very good. And it's because that managing the fire, the direct fire. And so the absence of direct fire in a pellet smoker and the convection cooking, I realized that if I could teach somebody what internal temperature they needed to be at and what temperature to cook at, and that I could turn these idiots into great cooks. And it was interesting to me, and I was making room for my son, Brian, who's now CEO, and my son, Scotty, who's vice president at Ernie Ball. So I kind of got away from him and decided I'd start this little barbecue company. What I wanted to do was make videos and teach people, men and women, how to cook. I wanted to make it easy and accessible. But at the same time, there were a lot of these artisan manufacturers that had no distribution for their grills. And they'd been crushed because, first of all, they weren't very good businessmen. And I hate to say that, but they weren't, probably still aren't. And they just couldn't compete with the big boxes and the imported grills. So I wanted to sell American-made smokers. I wanted to teach people how to smoke. And, so Big Poppa Smokers, I created that. And so I would be buying these different grills, and Jody Clark, who works for Ernie Ball, also would come over and assemble them, and we'd cook together. And Jody came over to me one day and says, "Hey, I'm gonna start a barbecue team. Do you mind if I use the name Big Poppa Smokers?" I go, "No problem, Jody." So Jody and two other guys from the company load up a bunch of drums, a refrigerator with a keg in it, a case of whiskey, cornhole, football, all the essentials to barbecue back then.
Yeah, of course.
Okay. Back then, you actually needed a quiet time, which I'll get to that. Okay, because it was a party, which in really many ways is what's kind of hurting barbecue now. Is it's just too serious. But I'll get to that, and I'll let you ask another question pretty soon. This isn't a filibuster. So what they did is they went out, and I'm going to tell you, usually beginning cooks get a lucky call. And they think it's not a lucky call. They think that, look, this is an easy deal. So Jody got second place in ribs and thought he was a genius, and went to Arizona the next week and came in almost last. And that started the refrain from them that the judges had it in for him. But anyway, I started coaching them. I coached them in Havasu, the third contest, and then I started creating rubs. And then I started creating flavor profiles. And those flavor profiles and those techniques I was doing, I went into the barbecue and everybody was really quiet and everybody was really secretive and hiding in tents. And I said, "Listen, if I want to sell rubs, I got to tell them how to use it." So I was very open about what we were doing. Still am.
That's awesome.
So those guys all had kids, just like a guy I know that does a podcast in Utah. He used to be in a band.
Yeah.
And everybody had kids, and he had to sell his bass.
That's me.
Okay.
I still have it. They built it for me out of spare parts. It's my Frankenstein bass. It's great.
Yeah.
And it actually has Ernie Ball strings on it right now.
You're a fine American. So what happened was they all had kids, and their wives made them quit. And I said, "Well, I'll keep going." And so that's kind of how it started. And I've cooked, 230 something contests.
Jeez.
That's awesome. Like those 230 contests are all like, not just like no amateur like cooks. They're all serious KCBS sanctioned. If there's not 50 teams there, type cooks, which is awesome.
Listen, it's really tough. I mean, but I'm fiercely committed, and I still practice. I've cooked in this lockdown. I cook, all the food you see on Big Poppa's site is me cooking. It's that simple. If there's anything I'm proud of, it's consistency. And this comes off so bad because it sounds bragging, but last year I was out of the top 10 once in 20 something contests. And before that, it had been 3.5 years. I think I've been out of the top 10 3 times in 5 years. So, but a lot of that's luck, trust me, but it's really consistency, and it's really applying things I know from music, and that is everything's important. And the other thing I'm really proud of is it's really to be a winning team for 10 years is really hard. Okay. Because the game changes. Okay. And, up until we had to quit, I think we'd won, 5 or 6 out of the last 8 or 9 contests. And that's but we changed a bunch of stuff. So, I think the fact that we've been able to win year in and year out is something that I'm really proud of. And it's really, like I said, a combination of luck, but it's also a lot of hard work.
So in your competitions, you guys use Old Hickory. Now that's the cooker you guys use. Now it's funny to me now that I work with a similar product that I'm actually kind of excited. I have to admit, I poo-pooed it. I did. I don't anymore.
Wait a minute.
Great cookers.
hold on, you're a pit master. Of course you poo-poo anything new.
Right. And I did. And I'm a super bad hipster too. So I'm two things. I'm bad, you know? So I'm like, eh. But man, working with that thing, I can see why it works so well. But there's a lot of people out there on the competition trail that would poo-poo an Old Hickory. So what would you tell those guys?
They're terrible. Don't use them. I cook on. I have a BPS stainless drum on the rig. Two Old Hickory Ace BPs, which are named after me because I designed them with them. And then I also cook our chicken on a Mac pellet grill out of Oregon, which I think is probably the best all around cooker right now in the world.
Nice.
What kind of advantage do you think that it helps for you using Old Hickories for your meat?
You know, it's super consistent. It's super predictable. I mean, it's what I like also is that the brand you're cooking on is a great brand, Southern Pride, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But they have a circuit. They have a circuit board and they're modern. The Old Hickories are like analog. Okay, there's not a part on the Old Hickory that you can't buy at a Granger hardware store. So I love that I'm cooking with something that's kind of mechanical instead of electric. Now, also, I don't think that I should be able to cook on that. Okay. I think the gods of barbecue didn't control barbecue enough, but that's a different subject. But I cook on Old Hickory because it's very, very consistent, very predictable, and I know exactly how to get the flavor I want on my food as far as smoke.
Okay, so talk a little bit about like competition, because you guys are so successful right now, and you have been for a long time. What would you tell someone who's a team who's listening here, especially a seasoned team? I'm not talking about a new one. Someone's been grinding out, and they might be the guy who you said gets that lucky call, gets, and then all of a sudden has this like losing streak. What are some things that they can do to kind of get back into the game?
So what I'd tell you is, number one, there's never been a better time between classes. I like classes because they sell product, and most people teaching classes use some of our stuff. But it kind of took the adventure, and I'm glad I never took a class. I lit 1,000 fires, but there's classes out there. There's the internet. Listen, I'll tell you something. And Ed at Sharp Gourmet Cooking said, I love watching when you do a practice cook because there's always a little nugget you leave on the table or something. I said, absolutely. I'm going to plant a hint there. Okay. Believe me, that's not there. If you think the thing off in the distance, I don't know exactly what's on that camera. Okay. So there's nuggets there. And some people like me believe those nuggets. Some people are just sloppy and leave it there. But, pay attention. I think the biggest problem with barbecue cooks is they're not objective. Okay. Now here's what you have in a nutshell. You have a cook that's not objective, and you have a judge that's judging that's subjective. So when you have a head-on crash between objective and subjective, you get really weird rules. But so what I tell, and this answers a lot of questions, but number one, on a micro level, when you really look at one contest or one category, like not that I keep them for very long, analyze your data. On a micro level, you're going to get screwed. The judge is going to screw. I mean, there are great judges, but it only takes two on a table to ruin your life. 4 at a contest, whatever. So on a micro level, the judging needs a lot of improvement, and I'd like to talk about that. But on a macro level, which is, let's say, I take a bigger sample, 10, 20 contests, study those numbers and say, listen, the judges don't like my taste. Okay? Figure it out. But objectivity is the biggest problem. Don't be afraid to ask questions. But I'm saying data is your friend. Keep your eyes open. YouTube. I mean, never been an easier way to learn how to cook anything or play guitar or sail than YouTube. So I think you do that, but I think it's an attitude, and I think there's also an expectation to instantly win. And which I know is, everybody wants to win. Like I told you, I'm super competitive.
Yep. So let's.
Does that help you there at all?
Well, that's
good
100% perfect. And look at it. So do you use Tabasco on your ribs in the competition?
No. But I used Tabasco, and I got a 5-year contract with my videos. My actual deal with Tabasco is over. It's been over for a year. I think I was too old for them. I did well for them, and the videos did well, but they got guys like you with beards and tattoos on their knuckles and stuff, and I'm a fat, loud, bald guy, that's 65. So, it takes, it is really funny. Messermeister knives, I sell them, and they've got a guy out at the Central Valley that's a good cook and stuff, but I said, so you got barbecue ambassadors. Well, did you consider me? She said, well, this guy just looked more of the part. Flannel.
Look like a Duluth trading.
Tattoo on his knuckles. Yeah, it was perfect,
Yeah.
I said, that's great. That's why, I'm very careful the companies I align with. So, Old Hickory's one, Max one, Simply Marvelous, Steph Franklin. And by the way, I only use 2 brands of rubs. And I'm down to, I think, 4 rubs for a whole competition.
Nice.
All meats.
And what are those rubs?
So, and if I use ones you can't buy yet, coming out Sweet Money Hot, I use Stash, Big Poppa's Stash, which only, if you're nice to me, you get it, which is only about half of barbecuers.
You look really nice right now.
Great shirt.
Triple Secret. Triple Secrets are a really good one on brisket. That's the only rub I use on brisket. So, I don't use, it's not, this whole layering concept is funny to me because it's not layering. The other thing on food, especially brisket, where they talk about bark, I'm not so sure it's bark because we're braising all 4 of the meats. It's not barbecue, it's braised. We're getting some color on it, which you do when you're braising, and then you get it into a controlled environment with liquid. So it's braised chicken, it's braised ribs, it's braised pork, and it's braised brisket. By the time you finish the brisket and stuff, what you think is bark is black paste that doesn't generally taste very good. So a little tip, I like to, with a gloved hand, I like to wipe that off.
Wow.
And that's funny. It's stuff like that is just so ingrained in us, and it's hard for people to move away from something like that. So you saying that is going to be like, what? Bark? Of course not. But I agree with you, actually.
But it's only one guy's opinion. And somebody else that might be a great cook, you never know what really are the triggers that make you successful. But what you do once you figure out what they are. I'll tell you another thing back to how do you help a cook. What kind of notes do you have on your practice? How often do you practice, by the way? How often do you practice?
I practice once a week. As a team, we practice once a month.
Yeah. I'm practicing every other week.
And that's probably not enough, from my opinion. And that's why it's such an expensive hobby. Okay? But you need to also practice what the judges are telling you. I truly believe that I'll sit there and I get so pissed. Chicken probably cost us 4 GCs last year. You can look it up. And, chicken I've been maniacal on. And then the Yuma, we got 3rd, and I won the table before. I think we've turned it around, but it's only because I can't tell you how many thighs have been cooked.
Right. So let's kind of segue into that. You mentioned earlier about how barbecue has changed. Let's talk about how it's changed with the judging criteria all the way through from when you began to current.
Okay. Number one, let me tell you how to fix judging. Now, this is a podcast, so I shouldn't really say this, but I don't really care about overjudging. Overjudging keeps people in the game. Okay? But if you want to address overjudging, you can. But let's just specifically talk about the table of death because it exists. And there are some, most of the judges are really good, but it just takes a real turd to ruin it. So KCBS is never suspended or never put on probation or never had continuing education with any judge. But when you have somebody, there was in Northern California, there's a judge saying it was his 8th contest and he's yet to give a 9 out. That's, I think the real thing is, first of all, it's continuing education. It's judging from the same platform, because when judging started, you started with a 9 and then moved down. Then you started in the middle, then you went, whatever the secret. Then it was you start with a 6 and move up. And And I've done judging class. I did a judging class in Kansas City with Tuffy, and where we were the guys there. And what they teach in the judging classes isn't what happens in the tent. So one of the problems that makes new judges so bad is that in the judging class, they say, how many of you think this sample, first of all food in the judging class is terrible too. So how are you teaching them anything if you're serving them dog bones? So anyway, they say, how many of you think this is average barbecue? Half the room raise their hand. Okay, give that a 6. Well, a 6 is an average barbecue for us. 6 is, and especially depending on what category you get the 6 in, it's a knife in the chest. It's not good. So you need to standardize that. But number one, if you've got, you need to empower the reps. You need to empower the table captains. But you can't let somebody continue to have their own idea what the food should taste like and be consistently a 25, 27, 29 judge. Now, all the comments are going to be, okay, well, what happens if the judge got 6 bad samples? You're right. That's not always an indicative of it, but those reps know when the judge walks in that they're going to be a problem for them. And what KCBS really has to do is not be afraid of losing the $40, because I think the things that are driving people and impacting competition barbecue is it's too hard, it's too expensive, and it's too subjective.
Yep. And it's funny because they will literally make you go back to a judging class if you score low. They'll pull you off. I'm a KCBS judge, and if I scored someone a 6 once, and they literally pulled me aside and was like, well, why'd you do this? I'm like, because it was terrible. I mean, they obviously injected this with wine. It was bad. And so, and then I sat back down like, oh, did you get in trouble? I'm like, and no. And then I found out that if you score like that often, they'll pull you and make you go back to a class. But I think it seems could happen if it's 9s, if they don't get 9s.
There's no policy for that.
There's not. Well, that's even worse. But if they did have it, and people who were not, who say, well, I never give a 9, should be in the same boat, But then again, if they're not doing it, what you said, then what's the point?
Yeah, how can you judge?
No, they're not.
That many contests and not give out 1 9?
Because the one we did, you did the same thing. It's like, how many thinks this is average barbecue? And we all raised our hand. They said 6, 7. They did that. So, yeah, that's true. I think that should be looked at differently.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's what I think you do. But also, I think the judges are right more than they're wrong. Nobody wants to think that they're not a great cook. Okay, and there's things that when I first started, they only paid 2, and for the longest, they only paid 2. And when I came up with a guinea pig, it's 10 deep. And by the way, I got nothing but crap over the guinea pig for the first 3 or 4 years. And I did, you know what the guinea pig is, right? Yeah,
you buy so you were put on the festival or the competition. You buy the meat, and everyone has a level playing field in all the meat that they have. Yeah,
and no electricity. You can have electricity, but there's no generator, and there's no you can use an inverter. That's part. Fine, but
that makes it interesting.
Yeah, listen, well, wait a minute. It's ironic that people call themselves a pitmaster and then have a pellet cooker like I do with a computer controlled. It's funny. I mean, really, I think they should have never allowed. If you had to plug the cooker in, you shouldn't be able to use it. And that's just my opinion, but a lot of people think it's kind of nutty. Look at the steak cook-offs. I don't cook steak cook-offs because I think it's great that they do it, and I don't want to be the curmudgeon, but were you in it when Left Coast was cooking and Matt Dalton?
We're both new to that.
Dalton,
yep.
Okay, well, Matt Dalton, the bad boys from Banning, California, and Matt Dalton was a badass. But Matt Dalton was the conscience of the barbecue internet. Matt Dalton was rough and tough and had been a lot of fights. Matt Dalton had the biggest heart, one of the greatest guys, and the guinea pig's named after him now. I mean, barbecue connects people that wouldn't normally get connected, and Matt Dalton's a perfect example. One of my dearest friends that, he was a pot trimmer that cooked barbecue and was rugged as could be, and he died at 42 of a heart attack. And Matt taught me about barbecue karma and the barbecue elevator, that you can go up and keep your humility because you can go down too just as quick. and it had happened to them. But Matt wanted to cook at Del Mar a steak, and he wanted to use my Santa Maria. I said, Matt, no way, not letting you. He goes, yeah, right. He goes, free choice. I said, no, you can't take it. I said, why? I said, well, Matt, you're going to come in 11th. He goes, well, that's bullshit. I said, Matt, you'll come in first non-grill grades, but you'll come in 11th. He said, well, let me try. I don't think so. Because to me, the idea of cooking a steak is managing how the fire kisses the meat and the even crust and stuff. It's not, and I think grill grates are fine, especially for pellet cookers. I think grill grates are great for gas grills, but it became a competition thing where you just get it to 700 degrees of the grill grate, put a brick on it or a steel plate. And I'm not saying that these guys aren't really talented. So I want to really make sure. It didn't appeal to me when all of a sudden the steak started looking like sporting clay and the fire never touched the meat. I mean, so again, I love what they've done because they're giving people an opportunity to cook. It's just I haven't cooked one. Well, the moral of the story, Matt cooked the contest on the Santa Maria and came in 11th.
That's awesome.
Well, I think
so hold on. Shouldn't you be able to cook a steak over coals or over oak fire, Argentinian, Santa Maria style, still be competitive? On the same token, shouldn't you be able to cook a chicken with grill marks?
Yeah. Mm-hmm, for sure.
Okay. The stuff we cook doesn't look like, I show people that don't barbecue. I show them my chicken. They say, well, what's that? Well, that's a chicken thigh.
Yeah.
It looks like a little pillow, a red pillow.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. But we actually talked to Brett Galloway a couple weeks back, and maybe it's something that you'd be interested in, but they have these chimney contests where they cook steaks, and all you can use is a charcoal chimney and a grill and a grate. That is what I'm talking about. Even
to do that.
That's what I'm talking about. Even playing field almost. But on your website, why don't you just grab one of these M grills and go ahead and throw down on those on an SEA as well?
Well, actually, I kind of helped Travis come up with that grill.
It's a great.
And he
grill.
also said nobody will buy it in stainless, and I said, well, I need one in stainless. So he made it for me, and he doesn't sell any of the steel ones. They're all stainless.
Those M16s are so pretty. Yeah. So pretty.
Well, the C4s, the M16s, the M1, but I think he is fabulous. Travis is I think he was the creative director for Fossil Watch. And so if you look at the stuff he does, his eye for detail is beautiful. His content's great. His websites are great. And I'm one of his first dealers, and I'm still a dealer. But I think Travis is just a really talented guy who makes just great product.
Yeah, and so kind of talking about, and we actually cook without we do now. We cook on a pellet grill for chicken, but for a long time we used no power whatsoever, and it actually helped us because there was 2 competitions here in Utah where the power breaker went out.
Yep.
And we were still cooking. We're like, oh, it did? Sorry, we're still going. So
yeah, you laugh at the guys.
Yeah. Now we use a Yoda. Now I feel vulnerable. You know.
No, I'm a pellet cooker. I cook everything on pellets. I like them.
Look, I like.
No.
I love pellet.
No disrespect, anything like that. Like pellet cookers or where they're at. I came and learned off charcoal, so I can fall back to charcoal anytime I want. But currently, that's what I'm using. Except for my brisket, I cook that over charcoal currently.
You have to.
Yeah, it's the only way to go.
That's the only way to go.
Yeah.
So I want to talk about Big Poppa Smokers for just a sec, because we've kind of alluded to that, and I want to start off by saying there's a one barbecue sauce I have to get, and I always tell them to go to barbecue or Big Poppa Smokers because you guys get it to me so dang quick. Everyone else takes friggin' 14 days, and it's a KC style barbecue sauce. I think that's what it's called. Smoke this KC barbecue sauce. And so how did you get the Big Poppa Smokers? Because a lot of those people weren't able to monetize their shipping or, with their stuff, but you do your own drums too. I saw that, what's his name? Oh, I'm pooping it right now. From Nirvana, the drummer. Come on. Drummer Nirvana. Cool. Thank you. He had one of your smokers. It's a pretty pretty It's just straight stainless steel. But how did that come about? How did the website come about? And you kind of touched on it a little bit.
I started because I wanted to teach people how to cook. I came up with, so I had video content 10 years ago. And a lot of people watched them. And then I started taking these different grills. I mean, Mac was a guy that was on the Brother and telling everyone, pellet heads back then, which is no longer around, but telling everybody that he's going to make this grill, and everybody's making fun of him, of course. You know, barbecue, it's unbelievable, the social media of barbecuers, because they've really, really hurt the sport, and I'll get to that. But anyway, I just started collecting things I liked and selling things I like. Like, I love Meadow Creek Cookers, and they're great people. It's in the Amish country. I went back for their open house and rode around in the buggy, and just am amazed by what a great product they make. Old Hickory, my relationship with the Knight family, M Grills, but Mac Grill, I reached out to them and said, well, I'm starting this store. You're starting this grill. We should probably talk. So I was involved. I think I had the second Mac Grill, and I've been a dealer ever since, and I'm the only dealer left. So I love Mac. So what I wanted to do is, I didn't want to sell imported stuff, and I wanted the store to be curated. There's nothing in my store that I sell that doesn't have some. I cooked on it and I approved. I tasted it and I liked it. Okay, and that was very helpful. When you talk about the different stores out there too, we got Kansas City barbecue stores out there. They sell my stuff in their bricks and mortar. We're fierce competitors and dear friends. I mean, Jeff Staney and I play a lot of golf together in the winter because he lives out here. But I mean, Slaughterhouse 5 was in retirement, and like I said, he lives out here, and I showed him everything I did. He went to every practice, and he came with me to contests and came out and won 3 right away. And now, you know, I think he still uses a lot of my stuff, but I helped bring back barbecue superstore guys. We like to give each other shit and stuff and tease each other. Richard's a great guy. Mark's kind of a weasel. I'm just saying that. I like both of them, but you know, we get along. We talk. Some people don't understand how to compete, and they get weird. But I mean, it's a small little family and really small little businesses. I mean, I like being able to sell smoke this stuff. I like selling Tim Shears drums. I love Tim Shears drums. I have one. But I've got mine too. And what we did was, people were making, they were called UDS. And when I looked at I looked like a business person, believe it or not. And I looked at the Brethren and I said, what's the number one thread on the Brethren? And it was UDS, how to make an ugly drum smoker. So I had some of the guitar engineers design the vents and the rack, the fire basket and the hooks. And I wanted to be able to raise them, lower it. I wanted at least 2 places to be able to put that fire basket, with bottle opener to the thing that handles to the rack that handles the brush and all that stuff, and the thermometer. So I gave that to the guitar engineers as a side project. And so what I wanted to do was I wanted a DIY thing. I wanted to be able to sell somebody a kit for not very much money. They could go on Craigslist, buy a drum for $10, $15, and they could be smoking. And you know what? Drums are still, I mean, if I had to just have one cooker, it would be a drum. Yeah. There's no question in my mind.
Yeah, they're awesome, man. You can turn these to basic to a Corvette, depending on what package you want to go with.
They're super slick looking. I love everything stripped down. That's my favorite style, and that's what these are about. And when I saw that, I was like, that's a slick looking smoker.
Yeah.
It's pretty fun.
So let's move into a little bit about like where we're at now. Like when you're not out there competing and, you know, you cook a lot, you said, but you kind of do a couple different things. So you have a thing with BJ's and
yes,
you kind of worked with them. Tell us about that.
That was such a funny story because the CEO of BJ's was in the past the CEO of I think California Pizza Kitchen, House of Blues, and came out of PepsiCo, and he became the CEO of Guitar Center, which is our biggest customer. Oh. Well, I had cooked for him a few times at my house, and so he decided he'd rather get back into the business, and he went to BJ's, and he called me, and his first order of business was fixing their ribs. So I come in my shorts and T-shirt, and they're all wearing chef coats, and they are not liking me. The chefs are giving me the hairy eyeball. And I finally said, okay, guys, you got a kitchen. You can sit and stare at me. I'm doing Greg a favor. I'm not trying to take your job. I've got a job. But let's go in the kitchen. If you like my ribs, then I'll show you what I do and help you with it. And I said, but until then, I don't really like being stared at like this and stuff. And then it wasn't, Scott Rodriguez was one of them from Toot and Stinky, but he was cool to me. So we go down to the kitchen, and I don't like the rub they've made. And I brought Sweet Money, and I said, okay, where's your smoker? And they don't have a smoker. I can't tell you how they cook them, but they don't have a smoker.
Okay.
And so the challenge is making these ribs. And by the way, I love to do this to Staney and to all my friends that own restaurants, because they all brag about how many pounds of ribs they sell. And I say, well, I sell 3 times more than you. So they sell more Big Poppa ribs at BJ's than any of those barbecue restaurants. Well, but they have 200 locations. But it's also, I got to say one thing before I finish this story is Scott Rodriguez at BJ's is one of the best people I know, one of the best human beings, one of the best leaders I know. His selfless ego, his way of getting people to collaborate and execute. Scott is a star and a stud, and he was the number 2 guy. But so they brought me in, and I don't know, you're going to probably edit all this out, but they said, well, those ribs are great. Why don't you come in for a tasting? So I go in for a tasting, and this is where the chefs are cooking what they think the executives want to put on the menu. And I look at the executives and I go, other than the CEO, who is a dear friend, like I said, he's at BJ's more than anybody has ever eaten at BJ's. But some of these guys, I don't really think ate at the time at BJ's. There's been turnover; they're all gone. So I'm not attacking anybody who's still there. But their taste in this Boston is just average. These chefs are playing it safe. I mean, Scott went to Johnson and Wales. The other guy went to Culinary Institute America. And of course, the 5 people before me, and I'm the last, Paul said, oh, it's good. It's better than what we sell. And Greg goes, Sterling, what do you think? And I said, your stock's at 27. If you want it to grow, you're going to have to cook your way out of it. And if this is the kind of stuff you think you're going to cook your way out of it, you're wrong. It's too safe. You got really talented chefs here. They need to take some chances, and they need to be a little more adventurous. Well, the head guy hated me for that. Scott's got, thanks. So he came up and he says, well, Sterling, you think you're such a hot shot. Why don't you come in for a day and see how you do? Perfect. That's a great challenge for me. So the first thing I did is the Mediterranean chicken pita taco on the grilled pita bread. It's their number 1 lunch item still, has been for 6 years.
Nice.
And so they said, oh, wait a minute. Well, maybe you should come back. So over the years, things like, and by the way, everything I've been done, I want to make sure it's a team there. Okay. There's Sweet Willie. There's Salvatore. There's Scott. There's Julie. So when I talk about this, and I had to wear a chef's coat for a while there. And they said, well, what title do we put on there? I said, well, you're certainly not going to put chef. I want to be chief instigator. So that's what they put. So that's really my role. But things like the monkey bread Pizookie to their quinoa bowls, all kinds of stuff are recipes that I created with that team that might have been the inspiration behind it.
That's awesome.
That is way cool.
You come in you're come in some barbecue dude, cook at home, and all of a sudden you're beating out these Johnson and Wales dudes. That's awesome.
Well, no, I don't. Listen, I don't think I could make it clear how much respect I have for Scott.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Nice.
And Scott's a badass. And I think it's awesome that he embraced the idea that somebody from the outside could come in. First thing I talk about, you guys need a kale salad. Nobody will buy kale. We did kale salad. It's one of their biggest sellers, but that's 6 years ago. So there's really fun things we do. And to me, I'm creative, and I'm also a business, but the thing that interests me is designing guitars. It's creating recipes. It's making rubs. It's creating formats like King of the Smoker or the Guinea Pig. It's creating programs like Smithfield Grant. Although I'm with Tyson now, Smithfield Grant is a business plan I wrote for Smithfield that assisted contests and put to date has put $425,000 directly into cooks' pockets.
Nice.
Okay,
Way
so
cool.
Awesome.
money they'd spend on an agency. Instead, they supported contests and supported more a wider payout and a bigger payout. So, I mean, I like creating things. That's why I cook. I still love the process of cooking. There's a lot of stuff that I've had to deal with in barbecue that I didn't have to deal in the music business, and so it's good for me. You got to get thicker skin, but
Yeah.
Creating a recipe. So it's scary for a lot of people out there. You know, they watch the YouTube videos and they want to do it exactly like you did it. What, you know, right now is a really good time for people to kind of go out and experiment on their own. What would you say to someone like that right now?
Well, I think, first of all, there's some just tremendous people out there. Okay. And, you know, Matt down at Meat Church does a wonderful job. He's a great cook and a really good marketer. Malcolm Reed, I think, is great. He's spot on, and he's really a good cook. I mean, I got tons of respect for him. There's some influencers that I have no respect for. I won't talk about it, but it's just it's what it is. And then there's a whole deal. While we've been focusing on competition barbecue, nobody gives a shit. Okay? It's live fire outdoor cooking. So you got guys like think Over the Fire Cooking in Nashville, where he's got over 1 million followers. He's a guy, I guess I don't know him, but I think he's really a good cook, and I think he does a great job. He's heavily influenced, from what I can tell, by Malden down in Argentina with that style, and he's great. But we get all excited with 20, 30, 40,000 followers, and these guys got 1 million. Okay, so I can touch on that. The role of the competition barbecue as an influencer is a window that's pretty much shut. I mean, I'm very fortunate to have a very nice relationship with Tyson, who I dearly love, and I'm doing content, recipes, strategy, competing. I'm working as a consultant in food service for them, showing restaurants how to cook some of this stuff. You know, sorry, somebody just distracted me there, but it's just the Tyson thing has been really exciting, creating a recipe. But you've got so many assets out there to look at. I will tell you right now, I'm a little tired of butter, garlic, rosemary, ribeye, cast iron with chimichurri. Okay? Now, it's great. But, I mean, if they start rationing chimichurri, some of these guys aren't cooking anymore. That would be nice. But the whole social media influencer is such a different thing because people, I mean, there's like I love Christy, Girls Can Grill. I think she's just awesome. She's got a huge heart. She's really a good cook, and she's in it for the right way. How did I do so far there on those?
That's great.
No,
but
you're awesome.
The thing is I think if a lot of people try and bite off a little bit more than they can chew, you know, they want to do everything. And I think just go out and settle in on a style for a while and just cook it, you know, because you got, you know, there's a Chet Atkins and there's a Slash, you know, and you can't really be both. You know what I'm saying?
Well, the thing about guitar that's different is nobody's ever mastered it. Whether you thought Segovia did or Slash did, or really John Petrucci at Dream Theater is probably the most technically advanced guitar player in the world. They all have a different way of expressing themselves. Now, in barbecue, you can't express yourself very much. You're really, I mean, one of the things I tell us, don't do anything too crazy because it's center of the fairway, consistent, almost boring barbecue. You got a better chance of having a high batting average. I mean, I'll tell you, I cooked the Orange County contest the first time, and I have Valencia oranges that are the best oranges ever. And I made this from scratch barbecue sauce that was orange based. It was so good, honestly. And I got just hammered. Right. I said, okay, you'll learn your lesson. Back out of sequence. Now, I call the tent, which, by the way, Easy Ups, a lot of guys used to cook out of. But I call it the idiot's pyramid. And at a contest, inside, under that thing, you'll get an idea that you've never tried before that you think is the greatest idea in the world until after you've turned the box in and you realize, what the hell was I thinking? So don't do anything in a contest you haven't practiced before.
This guy. It's my right.
What? Hey, I'm a trailblazer. Okay. I'm just not, I'm just kidding. But like Myron Mixon said, he said, the real food's coming out of the backyard, guy. It's not coming out of the competition cook, and it's the people out there just trying different things. And like you said, everyone gets in this, like, I'm going to have a rosemary butter brush, and I put my garlic in there, and that's a fine way to cook a steak. But, right now, especially now we're here and we're cooking and try different things, reach out, just grab something, man, throw it on, see what happens,
Agreed.
And what are you going to lose?
Well, I'll tell you what I did. I bought a book at a supermarket one day, and it was a paperback Italian book called Northern Italian Cooking by a lady named Biba Gaggiano at a restaurant in Sacramento. And I cooked every recipe in that book. And then from there, because I was really focused on Italian, then I discovered Marcella Hazan, and I cooked most of her stuff. And she had 3 books at the time. Then I went to Giuliani Bugiali, who was one of the genius, and I cooked a ton of that. And then when in Pacific Rim, whether it was Sam Choi, Roy Yamaguchi, all those guys, I cooked all that stuff. So, and I've got so many cookbooks, you have no idea. But what I do now, when you talked about answering the question about recipes, I'm not cooking anything now. The content you're going to see, you're not going to see a measuring cup, okay? You're not going to see a measuring spoon. Because, sometimes the companies I've worked with have demanded it, but I want to show you how it's a handful of this. It's a pinch of that. It's a little bit more. It's taste it. What does it taste like?
Yeah.
Like chili. What do you guys both cook chili, right?
Yeah.
Do you get out a cookbook or a recipe?
Nope. I wing it.
I actually do. I do exactly what you just did. So I'll take a book. I was heavily influenced by Italian. I went to culinary school. I got out and I was Italian focused. So I did a lot what you did. Is cook out of the books. And after getting those basics down.
What did you think of the names I mentioned, for example?
I love them.
Of the Italian cooks. Okay?
Yeah, I have some of them. And Mario Batali, though, to be honest, was my favorite just because that was the first book I ever bought. So
yeah, but that's your age. See, Batali was wearing baby Crocs then, okay?
Baby orange Crocs.
So he wasn't there, and the guy that really taught me about cooking really was Jacques Pepin.
Wait, you met him? You actually cooked with him?
No, but I got all his books. But I'll tell you,
the Doulette technique is what I did the same. I cooked through that whole book.
Yeah, but it's as good a book as you'll ever get.
Yeah, for sure.
I think it's still good. Look, Paul Prudhomme has a book called Seasoned America, where he shows using dry rubs how to make all these American classics. Now, I did cook next to Paul Prudhomme once.
Wow. This
is really cool. Wolfgang Puck had a thing called Meals on Wheels in LA. He invited 50 top chefs in the country. And I would come as Jimmy Schmidt, who had a place called Rattlesnake, and he's a multiple James Beard winner. And I'd be the sous chef and stuff. And I'm sitting there, and I think I got to cook like 4,000 scallops on the charcoal grill, and it wasn't hot enough, so I got the pans in the coals, and I'm going, and all of a sudden somebody taps me on the shoulder, and it's Wolfgang Puck, and he says, "Wash your hands there." I said, "Wolfie, you worry about your food, okay?" And he looked at me and he started laughing. But next to me was Paul Prudhomme, and he's in the wheelchair cart. And he comes up and he's got his thing and he's trying to sell his rubs and he's sauteing and he picks up the pan. And his action with that pan was like a jazz musician. Wow. It was like, I just sat there and I kept I started burning scallops. I was hypnotized by this guy's feel. And that's the other thing. You learn a recipe, there's a feel. Okay, there's his signature. One of the things why I decided to share barbecue specific things is you give a million people cook a cake recipe, and 10% of them come out like the book. Okay,
right.
so
I'm
you can give them the rest. Yeah. Okay. So
I'm a terrible baker.
Yeah, me too.
You know what's really good about this is there's a question I asked you about how often you practice, and I want to come back to it because it is something, and I don't know if you edit these things, but what I tell cooks is I have, since James and I became partners, I have every single practice and every single cook and every single recipe written down. I can go back to, hey, well, the perfect in, where is it? It's in Utah that just got canceled.
Wendover.
Wendover. Yeah. Let me pull back that Wendover recipe. The problem is James has sort of a compromised literacy between Spanish and English. And we mean this as a joke. So I need James to translate him, because there's no way I could give you the books and you wouldn't know where to start or what it meant. But he's got his own, I think the CAA should hire him to come up with some encoding, the James Aflague coding. Yeah. But honestly, and I'll show you next contest you're at, come in the trailer. I'll show you the books.
Okay.
I love that.
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
But yeah, it's like I was saying, it's like you cook those recipes, man, and eventually you just start just knowing, Yeah. And you don't have to do a recipe anymore. It just kind of comes to you,
Except for in competition, every single thing I do is weight.
And that's the thing. That's why I always ask like Andy Kitchens and people who are the culinary chefs like Tuffy Stone. We talked to him. These people came from a culinary background, especially Tuffy with a French background. They are, a certain way. How does that translate to barbecue? And it's so funny because especially in Italian cooking, it's so free, and then you go from that to like, no, it has to be this way, and you have to cook the chicken this way. And it's like structured, and it's super weird.
Well, America tried really hard, specifically California, to ruin Italian cuisine. Because one of the things I realized once I cooked all that stuff is Italian food is simple. You go to Italy, it's not complicated, and it shouldn't be complicated. And whoever thought sun-dried tomatoes should be in pasta, to me, it's just, that wasn't it. It's fresh tomatoes. It's beautiful stuff. Or San Marzano. It's just, everything I do in Italian is so simple now, because to me, that's how it should be cooked. I had to learn all of that stuff to come back to it.
It's like my pizza sauce. It's just San Marzano tomatoes with a little salt. Whip it up. You're done.
Man, I need to eat dinner with you guys, because you guys are talking on a whole nother level.
I could talk about, we need to get back to the point here, because I could go off on this for another 4 or 5 hours.
Well, this is called a podcast, right?
That's right.
Yeah, that's.
But it's similar to I think it's a couple people get crippled and they think they have to cook a certain way, and they're afraid, especially in competition, to kind of branch out. And once you dial something in, man, you got to stick to it. And you said, it's got to be consistency. And we have had so many guests on this podcast say the same thing you did, and it's write it down. Write that process down, because you never know. You think you're going to remember, but you don't. And you can go, oh, this is amazing, and you can just work off that and build off that and do all that stuff. So I think writing things down, man. If you're listening right now, you've probably listened to this podcast a lot, and how many times have you heard that? Just start writing everything down.
And even that's when a good team member comes into play. Like, hey, I'm going to be telling you what I'm going to be doing, but have them write it down, because sometimes you'll do something and you'll forget to tell somebody, like, oh, I actually throw a little bit of brown sugar in my sauce, and you'll just do it and not instinctively remember to write that down, but your team member will catch that.
Wait a minute, hold on.
I want to write this down.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? And that's when having a good, solid team members around, so you guys can create those notes together and not miss any steps.
Still objectivity, though, I come back to, because we're back to that first thing. And do me a favor, if you're posting a box that only a mother could love, and you got a 180 on it, don't post it. Because I'm going to tell you what, a network of the really good cooks is circulating that picture right now, making fun of you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's true.
Or, it's so funny to me. You really think that ribs should be nearly black in color? Or, what did you use to cut those ribs? A hacksaw, and you see it all the time. And,
yeah.
I always think it's funny that when I see that, and I say, look at it, people getting calls and feeling good about what they're doing keeps coming back. But the real truth is there are only a handful of cooks in the Western United States that have been doing this for 10 years. It has a lifespan of about 3 years. There's so many guys who've come and gone.
Right.
And the other thing is, what I hate to see about competition barbecue, there's so many guys that are too young and really shouldn't be spending the money and the time And I can't tell. I mean, I can give you, and I don't want to name because it's not appropriate, but that people have lost their jobs over barbecue because they just got drunk on it. Because there's a way where they could get national recognition in a small pool. They were fascinated. They were excited. They have new friends. They have this thing called Barbecue Family, and they're taking every Friday off, and then they're on Instagram and Facebook all day when they're supposed to be at work, when they're spending their kids' orthodontia. It's so you see a real, I mean, I wish there were more longer-term cooks. I mean, they really compete. I mean, you got Steph out here with me, Sylvie, myself, Jerry, great cook,
Jerry,
good guy. I mean, but really, there's not many.
And it's funny because you guys came from the West Coast, and when you first started, that was it was like, oh yeah, West Coast guys and come out here and cook. And it's funny because if you go to barbecuedata.com, and if you guys have an account for Barbecue Data, go there and just put in Big Poppa Smokers and go back to 2009 or 10 and just click through those and just see how many top 10 finishes you guys have had. And I don't think I've ever seen it this consistent. And I'm a big Barbecue Data fan, so I'm always on these podcasts looking at it. And the consistency is just unreal. The way that you guys have been able to top 10 it for so long. And like you said, it's hard to come in and a lot of people come in for 3 years to do great. And then they just kind of, or whatever they do.
Well, and a lot of really good pitmasters lose it. Yeah. I mean, you see it. I don't have to mention names. You know, guys that used to win a lot and don't win.
Yeah.
It's going to happen to me. It happens to everybody. I just managed to have gotten probably a good solid 8-year run in. You look at guys like Travis Clark. He's one of the most consistent cooks, if not the most consistent ever. Travis is a wonderful cook. Okay, and but I mean, there's some big names that used to win that don't win anymore, and it's not because they're not trying. Listen, I don't do anything the same. There's not one recipe that's the same from. I think my best year might have been 15 or 16 in there. I think I came in third. And I cooked 22 KCBS contests. I didn't count the Royal or the Jack in there, the 3, but I think it's 19 for 22 or 23 in the top 3.
Yeah, it's crazy.
And that's Iowa. I cooked in, not just California. Look, you mentioned off camera the James thing, and you know, people love to say that I don't cook or love to say James does all the work, and it's a really insecure person that comes up with that, because what it is they just can't stand the fact that, you know, I get hate. Success breeds haters in barbecue. I mean, poor Harry Sue, he was nothing but nice to people, but he got treated terribly out there by a lot of people because he won too much. But, you know, James was a truck driver that was driving to the Vans Warped Tour for me. He was supposed to go to a hotel and sleep. Instead, he stopped and he was watching me cook. And so I showed up the next week. I said, you don't have to be here. And he had things set up for me. I said, wow, that's really cool, James. He says, do you want to learn how to cook? He said, I don't know how to cook. Well, I'll teach you. I'll teach you how to cook my chicken. And what we'll do, James, is we'll cook 2 batches of chicken. We'll cook mine and you cook it. I'll be the judge. The first time I think yours is better than mine, we'll turn it in. Telluride, Colorado, we won the contest, 2nd place. Okay? Next week, Grand Junction, we won that contest. James got a 180. So he had a 2nd and a 1st, his first 2 times out. So I instantly put on the door of the truck, James the Flame Perez, world's greatest chicken cook. Because seriously, who averaged 1.5? Well, there was a few cooks that thought that was so rude and so bad. They had no sense of humor. It was a joke, okay? But James and I are partners, but I'm the head cook. It's my recipes, and James cooks the chicken. I cook the other 3 meats. And, you know, it's pretty funny because I'll tease James because he drives out there. I have to meet him there because I got 3 other companies and 3 other jobs. And I'll call him and once I'll say, hey, James, I can't make it. Dead silent. And I've done it for the Steph. He turns like gray. The last thing he wants to do is cook a contest by himself.
All right.
Yeah, it's cooking a podcast, especially it's hard, man.
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to do it. I cook hot and fast in barrels. I would pass out. I really will.
No, listen, but a lot of guys are super good at that too. I mean, just great.
Right.
There's great cooks. Listen, I hope in some of these opinions, I've told you what I think, but I don't want to be disrespectful because I'm not disrespectful. I think it's great that the steak cook-off came up with that. It just wasn't for me. I don't think that we should be plugging cookers in the wall. Well, that's just me. I think that we need to immediately ban power anyway because it's unreal, it's unreliable, and it's usually the number one expense of promoter house. And by the way, there's no room for a promoter anymore. The way barbecue's shrunk and the cost is gone. Right. So, I mean, when I first started cooking, there were promoters. We had a guy named Henry that did 8-10 contests a year. He got tired of whining of barbecuers because barbecue is a classic no good deed goes unpunished. And he has a donut shop. And the last thing he wanted to do is put on another contest for barbecuers. I mean, you have a promoter there, but basically they're gone now.
Yeah.
And that's one of the problems. There's no margin, but you need to take that $3,000 to $15,000 and put it in the prize pool, or give the charity a chance to actually make something, or the promoter actually not lose money.
Right. And that's something that's hard. I think right now, whenever we're trying to get this league going here, and that's what you run into. Everyone's like, there's just no money in it, and it's hard. So, I mean,
well, I want to shift gears just a tiny bit. You keep mentioning this truck. This truck that you guys take on the road is amazing. I was actually talking to James in Wendover about him driving it. He's actually, it's on a whole nother level. Like he was telling me he couldn't even get in through port of entries. So they're giving him a hard time a few times about port of entries because he didn't have the right letter in the right spot and all this other stuff. But
in the right period. Well,
yeah,
I'll tell you
but this
something.
rig is amazing.
Honestly, yeah, but also James will go. He'll be like, we'll travel with Jeff saying JB will be driving the one in front. JB gets waved through. James gets stopped every time. Okay. And honestly, we believe that it's because he's Hispanic. I mean, honestly, there's just no reason why every single time he gets stopped. And, we're DOT because of our graphics. And by the way, all of you guys with trailers and stuff, you're going to get busted pretty soon. Okay. And especially if you've got any stickers or signage, they want the money too much. When I first started cooking, it was easy ups and it was fun. And really, what we really need to do is put fun back in barbecue. But when they started making these trailers, I bought one. And the one I have now is great because I sleep in a camper, which is my sports bar and hot tub, although there's no hot tub, but it does say that. And then James, I didn't like that James had to sleep on a cot and didn't have a bathroom. So we upgraded, and James has got the biggest bathroom in all of barbecue and a very nice room. And then we've got a 10-foot kitchen and a 10-foot deck for patio for the cookers. But it's great. It's an F450 that's had the suspension tweaked several times and the chips, and it's pretty fun. And I love being in my camper.
Yeah, that the rig is like intimidating. You pull in and you see this, you're like, oh my goodness, who are we going against? But then after you cook a couple times, you're like, oh, he's the coolest dude in the world. Go talk to him, check out the.
Well, I agree with that, but then I go up there and I'm okay, cool. I got an A9 because I'm talking to Tom from Shig Ninja. He's like, oh, so does Big Poppa. I'm like, I'm leaving.
Don't get scared. Don't get scared.
Hey, Tom and shit. I love Tom. Tom and Paul used to be IAB 30. Okay. And I teased Tom still. Tom would come by and wish you good luck, but it was like his jaw was wired shut. He didn't really mean it. This is the IAB days. I don't think he was he's too competitive, but I tease him about it. Good luck, Sterling. Like this. So now we still do that. Tom's just, he's one of the great guys out there. I enjoy spending time with him. I love talking to him.
Well, cool. So what's the future for Big Poppa? What do you guys got on the horizon?
It's I don't do master plans. I don't do business plans, which is amazing because, like I say, I have these businesses. I'm really more fascinated with just outdoor cooking. It intrigues me more. So I like cooking, all that stuff. I like creating recipes. I love doing what I do for BJ's. I think that becoming proficient outside has the potential to be such a good family event too. And number one, when you're outside, I call it you're off the grid basically, unless you choose to be on Instagram and answering emails and stuff. You really get a license to chill when you're barbecuing. Nobody's going to bug you, and I think that's something. If you're recording this in the middle of the pandemic quarantine, and I'm of the age where I've been 14 days I haven't left the house. But there's some things I've cooked more, believe it or not, and I've enjoyed it. My wife has, but also it's funny we're eating together more than we were. I mean, we would go out or food delivery and stuff, but you know what? There's just something about making a really cool dish and executing well from the heart and feeding your family and spending time with them. And plus, you save money. So, look, there's nothing great about a pandemic. But I will tell you, whenever something bad happens in life, you try and figure out what changes are you going to make. How are you going to realign your perspective and understand it's only going to be realigned for a little bit, because then we go back to being mean, sloppy, and lazy or whatever, But in the meantime, it's cooking. It's teaching your kids how to cook. It's cooking with your wife. And I think it maybe brings back the family dinner, which has kind of gone away.
Right.
Which is kind of interesting.
Which is sad, because that's how I grew up. Is we had dinner at X time, and it was a chance for us to get along and talk. Well, to be honest, it wasn't get along all the time, but at the same time, it was a connection. And now, and I was fortunate enough to have moved away and stepped away from the restaurant business, had a lot of time with my family and cook a lot. And so I do that. And now that I'm back in the restaurant business a little bit, it's more, and challenging, but man, take that time right now, like you said, to really cook with your kids and have them cook something with you, and
try new things
and sit down to the table with everybody and really sit down at the table, and hang out and try that.
I'm doing a content piece this week. This is 7 days of pork butt.
Oh, nice. I'm cooking one tomorrow.
Okay. So, well, you buy a 2-pack and, you cut off a couple steaks and you cook that, then you cook it. And then I'm going to teach them how to vacuum seal it, freeze it, and how to retherm it, but then how to turn it into to nachos or a pulled pork sandwich or a banh mi or, list goes on.
Nice.
But to show somebody for like $20, $25, they can feed their family, enchiladas, carnitas, all the different things. And that's more exciting to me than listen to somebody post how they got screwed in Yuma or whatever,
Yep. And where's that going to be at so people can go find that?
That'll be on Big Poppa Smokers. It'll be on Cooking with Big Poppa, and it'll be on Tyson Food Service and Tyson Sharing. But I just did a couple of videos for Walmart for summer grilling. It's some straight ahead Tyson baby backs with grannies and sweet money, just letting them rip from start to finish. And then I did a kind of fun recipe where they're triple jalapeno ribs in a barbecue sauce. And they're kind of fun because we use a pickled jalapeno in foil. We use a candied sweet hot pickled jalapeno. We'll use fresh jalapenos, and you can make it as hot as you want, but we reserve that from the pan juice. We add half the pan juice to the bottle of barbecue sauce. I said I use Granny's because I like it, because I own it. And then you baste the ribs, and then you put the reserved jalapenos on it. That's fun to me. And none of this, I got a measuring spoons, but I think everybody's going to do a better job. I think it's less intimidating. I think I want to create content that doesn't scare people, that makes people say, I could do that.
Right. It's so much easier when step by step and easy,
It's easy. Yeah. And it's just getting out and just cooking, man. It's right now, it's just fun. Like you said, I think I watched a video with you a while ago. It's like, that's your you time, You can go out there and that's my time. I'm out here cooking, and I'm going to take a minute, it's like that's what it's about for me too.
I'm getting ready. I got a pork tenderloin because I cooked one the other night. I got to cook the other one in the packet, and I don't have anything here. Okay. Because I don't go to the market. We have a delivery coming Sunday, and I'm down to shorter. But right now what I'm making is somebody in a Christmas basket and a bacon pepper jelly. And so I'm going to reduce that with some chicken stock a little bit, and I'm going to do the pork tenderloin on a Santa Maria grill with a bacon pepper glaze.
Nice.
Really
sounds
easy.
delicious.
2 or 3 items, and then serve it on some rice maybe, and little chives, and so where people think I'm good, you got to put green on it.
Yeah,
of course.
Even if you never do when you're cooking for yourself.
Never.
Hey, how long is this show usually?
Oh,
Whenever.
Yeah, we let it roll.
All right.
We let it go.
But-
I've probably really overstayed my welcome.
No, you're good, man. You're totally good.
But that is actually all the questions that we have for you. So that's a perfect time to try that. So where can people find you? Obviously, you guys you have your website. You got, Instagram, I'm assuming. Where's this Cooking with Papa thing at? Where would you find? Is that a
Cooking
YouTube
with
thing?
Big Poppa is www.cookingwithbigpoppa.com.
Perfect.
And
Simple.
that has a lot of my content pieces. But you're going to see some really interesting and fun stuff. We've gone to natural light, 1.5 cameras. You just want it to be more real,
Yeah.
and less precise and more inspirational. The idea is you want to people say, God, those ribs. Listen, I have a little saying. You want to cook content where people want to lick the screen, okay? I got to have that. Malcolm does that. So many people do.
Oh yeah, Malcolm.
Hey guys, next comp, you better come over and
we'll be there.
say hi, and I want you to see my apron and shirt after the cook, and tell me I don't cook.
All right.
Either that, I got a really weird thing going on.
He's like, I'm almost there. Let me get some granny sauce and splash it on my shirt real quick.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Tuffy laughs because Tuffy and I are dear friends, and Tuffy's such a great chef. But Tuffy and I talk. I believe he respects me as a cook outside of barbecue and inside of barbecue. And he loves to make fun of how dirty I am, because Tuffy wears the same shirt in a contest 2 days, if he has to, and there's not a stain. There's something wrong with that. That's not a normal
how those
person.
French chefs,
he has his
those
apron
French chain chefs
folded perfect.
It's the French
Yeah,
chef
well,
thing.
They can kiss my ass. I want to be able to take that shirt and make soup out of it.
Hell yeah.
Okay?
Wring it out. And that's what I'm using for my stock right now.
Disgusting.
Well, man, it's been awesome.
Disgusting is right.
It's been awesome hanging out with you today and getting to know you. And we'll definitely have to hang out, because we'll be doing a lot of your same comps. We actually comp a lot together. So.
Yep.
I've seen you, and you've got a black sign with white lettering, right?
Yeah. Yep. But now that
hold on. Everybody does.
Yeah.
That's a joke.
You have the yellow with red, correct? Yeah. In the restaurant business. But yeah, man, and I'm a little shy sometimes, but we'll have to come over and say
I'm
hi.
gonna drag you by your ear and be like, let's go.
I get nervous. I'm a nervous guy.
Don't get nervous.
I get all like fangirl about it. I'm like, oh wait, I can't go talk to that guy.
Yeah, you can.
So
well, cool.
Well,
cool, man. Like I said, we will next time we come down, whenever we can compete.
Edit this down so it doesn't put 150 people asleep, okay?
Oh, man. Actually, our podcast, it's funny because everyone wants us to go longer. Like,
they always...
Could you go like an hour longer?
Yeah, they always request for a longer podcast, so they're going to eat this up.
But, hey, man, we appreciate it.
Take the rest of the day off.
All right.
I'm going to go cook something.
Yep.
I'm a sandwich.
Yeah.
I'm going to cook a sandwich.
Nice.
All right, man, we appreciate your time. You have a good day.